Okay, let's dive right in. You know that feeling, right? Staring at another login screen, trying to remember which password goes where.
Oh, absolutely. It's like this huge digital maze we're all navigating. So many accounts, so fragmented.
Exactly. But what if there was a simpler way? You know, a more unified digital world where things just connect.
That's the really interesting part, isn't it? Having one key, basically, to unlock different online doors, moving between platforms without that constant login hassle.
And that's precisely what we're unpacking today. We're looking at the Linkspreed Web4 API and how it uses something called OAuth 2.0.
Right. The idea is that your Linkspreed community platform can act as that central key, that main hub for authentication.
Yeah. So our mission for you listening is to understand how this API enables what's called a single sign-on or SSO experience across all sorts of different services an organization might use. Your community login becomes like your master key.
Okay, so let's get practical. What is this Linkspreed Web4 API, really?
Well, first off, it's actually part of every Linkspreed community platform. It's built in. Think of it as a translator. It lets other applications talk to your community.
And it can do more than just logins, right? Like accessing profiles and posts.
It can, yeah. But for our focus today, the key piece is its role as an OAuth 2.0 provider. That's the bit that handles the secure login integration.
Okay, so let's break down the roles. Your Linkspreed community becomes the identity provider, the IDP. It's the one vouching for who the user is.
Like the official ID checker.
Exactly. And then your other apps, maybe a support site or an e-learning platform, they become service providers, SKS.
Right.
They trust Linkspreed to handle the login part.
Right. They don't need their own separate username and password system. They just ask Linkspreed, is this person legit?
Which leads us to the why. Why bother with OAuth? What's the real benefit for you listening?
Good question. I mean, the biggest win has got to be the user experience, right?
Definitely. Imagine logging into your community once and then hopping over to, say, the internal help desk or a project dashboard. No extra login needed. It's just smoother, much more convenient.
Yeah, no more password panic. And beyond just being easier for users, there's also simpler user management for the admins, though we won't get too deep into that.
But importantly for everyone, there's security.
Yep.
You're leveraging the security that's already built into the community platform.
Right. Instead of trying to secure like 5 different login systems, you focus on making sure the main community login is rock solid.
And thinking bigger picture, this creates a much more connected ecosystem, doesn't it? It makes the community itself more valuable because it integrates with other tools.
Absolutely. It breaks down those annoying data silos. You start seeing how people interact across different platforms because they're using that one central identity. That could be huge for understanding user needs.
The examples given are pretty clear too. Logging into support portals, e-learning, internal dashboards, all using those same community credentials. It makes it tangible.
So that's the why. How does it actually work? Let's get into the OAuth 2.0 flow the Web4 API uses. It might sound technical, but we'll walk through it.
Okay, step 1. You need to tell Linkspreed about your external application.
Right, this is the created development application step. You do this in the Linkspreed admin settings.
Yeah, you register it. It's like getting an official passport. And Linkspreed gives you 2 things back. An AP key D.
That's the public identifier, like the application's name.
Correct. And then the crucial one, the AP secret. This is, well, secret, like a password just for your application. You guard this very carefully.
Cannot stress that enough. Keep that AP secret locked down. Okay, so app registered, ID, and secret obtained. What's next? Step 2.
Step 2 is when the user actually wants to log in using Linkspreed from your other application. They click a button, like log in with Linkspreed.
And that click sends them where?
It redirects their browser over to a specific Linkspreed authorization page. The web address includes your API, so Linkspreed knows which application is making the request.
Okay, so the user lands on a Linkspreed page. What happens there? That's step 3.
Step 3, user authorization. Yep, they'll see a consent screen. Linkspreed basically asks, hey, is it okay if application X accesses your basic profile info? The user has to agree.
Giving the user control makes sense. So they click allow or authorize. Then what?
Then, step 4, receive the authorization code. Linkspreed sends the user's browser back to your application, specifically to a redirect URI you configured earlier.
Ah, the callback address you mentioned.
Exactly. And tacked onto that address is a temporary code. Think of it like a single-use ticket. It proves the user just authorized your app.
Okay, temporary code received. Now for step 5. This sounds important.
Very important and security critical. Step 5 is exchanging that code for an access token. And this must happen on your server in the background, not in the user's browser.
Why server-side?
Because this is where you need to use that confidential ape secret. Your server sends a direct request to Linkspreed, providing the temporary code, your epit, and the ape secret.
Okay, so the server basically says, here's the temporary ticket the user gave me, and here's my secret handshake to prove I'm the real application. Can I have the actual key now?
That's a great analogy. And the documentation shows a simplified PHP example of how that server-side request might look. It's illustrative, of course.
And if Linkspreed verifies everything the code is valid, the secret matches the ID, what does it send back?
It sends back the prize.
Yeah.
The access token. This is the key your application can use repeatedly to access data on the user's behalf. It's usually a long string of characters.
And you need to store this token securely on your server associated with the user.
Absolutely. And the docs also mention error handling. If the code is expired or the secret is wrong, Linkspreed sends back an error, which your application needs to handle gracefully.
All right, we have the access token. Finally, step 6. Accessing protected resources, getting the actual user data.
Exactly. Now, your server, armed with that access token, can make calls to the Linkspreed Web4 API endpoint.
The app power address mentioned.
Yes. You send the access token along with your request, and you also have to specify what type of data you want.
Like in the example, fetching basic user profile info.
Right. For that, you'd use type feature data. The request would look something like community or lappy.access token. The token and type Gituser data?
And the response, if successful, contains the user's details.
Yeah, the example response shows things like id, username, first name, last name, profile picture. Your application gets this structured data back, usually in JSON format.
Which you can then use to, say, create a session for the user on your site, or display their name, or personalize their experience.
Precisely. And it's not just user data, is it? The documentation lists other type values.
It does. You can ask for post data, get pages, get groups, even get products, and social graph stuff too, like get followers, get following, get friends.
So you could potentially build features in your app that reflect the user's community activity or connections.
There's also a limit parameter mentioned. What's that about?
Oh yeah, for when you're getting lists, like posts or friends. It just controls how many results you get back in one go. Default's a 20, max is 100. Just helps manage the data flow.
Okay, so pulling it all together, the Linkspreed Web4 API, through this OAuth 2.0 process, essentially lets your community act as a central identity provider.
Right. It turns it from just a standalone platform into the central hub for user identity across your different tools.
Creating a more integrated, user-friendly environment. Less login friction, more connection.
Exactly. So the key takeaway for you listening is that this API offers a pretty robust way to unify your digital stuff using OAuth 2.0. It simplifies logins and really boosts integration possibilities.
Which really brings us to the final thought.
Yeah.
How could consolidating user identities like this actually change things in your organization or for your online presence?
Yeah, think about the workflows it could streamline or how it might improve user engagement. What new doors does this kind of interconnectedness open up? It's definitely something worth pondering beyond just fixing the too many logins problem.